do all the transportation. We're basically a 4PL. So this is our focus. Cap logistics, arguably, we're the big dog for supply chain management within tech. Pretty picture of the globe. All the dots are something to do with that. Right? So that's what we need to manage the supply chain around. All right. So I mentioned I came in 2008 as a supply chain guy doing facility startups. In 2010, I was invited out for a forum out at MIT. And the theme of the forum was, are you prepared for the supply chain talent crisis? Okay? And so, for those of us coming in from industry for this discussion with the university, it's hard not to be a little bit skeptical, right? When you go to a school and they say, man, you really need to do a better job of hiring people and training people, right? Because they're selling what they make. But it was interesting. We were sitting around a room, a group of people like this, executives from the industry, and all of us sort of, had these anecdotes about jobs that we had a tough time filling, or people coming in that really didn't want, they didn't have the span of experience that we needed, they didn't have the depth of experience, they didn't want to have to get up for conference calls at 6 in the morning, or stay up for conference calls until 10 at night, or travel around the world 50% of the time. And we were commiserating, right, sharing all of these stories, but what we started to realize was we were all having the same problem. And at the end of the day, truly, we all were having a bit of a problem finding the right people. And as we started mapping out what would happen when some of these forces came together, like a lot of big companies are looking at baby boomers hiring, right? The very people that have had the time in their careers to move around through all the different functions to sort of figure out how the company actually works are looking at their retirement opportunities. And by the way, as the market starts coming back, that becomes a much more viable option for those folks. We started looking around at how, as the market comes back, and as industries in general start getting a better understanding of what supply chain management is and why that's important and putting a value on that talent, there's going to be more competition for the people that are out there that have those skills. So it was a pretty interesting discussion. I think we all walked away pretty engaged. And sure enough, a month later, the Wall Street Journal, there's an article about Caterpillar. Lightning bolt leads Caterpillar to look outside. And you can go look up the article, but what the story was saying was Caterpillar had a retirement, our chief procurement officer, which is the senior supply chain person in Caterpillar. The 6 people that have positions above that in the company had an average tenure of 33 years. Right? Caterpillar is known for bringing people in and developing through their careers. And our CEO looked around and said, I need a chief procurement officer, and I don't know. I got to go find one. And that was a big enough shock to hit the Wall Street Journal. So it's another anecdote, right? It's another data point. All of a sudden, the story really starts to resonate, and you go, maybe there is something like a crisis for supply chain talent. We actually reported in the end of 2011 the growth in Caterpillar, how many people we hired. 2010, worldwide full-time employment, we were at 104,000. By the end of 2011, we were at 125,000. Now, I'm not saying all 20,000 of those people were supply chain, but I think it's indicative of the kind of growth that we have and the number of supply chain people that we're looking to get. So what we did right in that period of 2010, they brought me over into HR and said, hey, we know that we need to do some things around supply chain talent and recruiting. So you're a supply chain guy, you're a mid-career hire, you go figure this out. And I started looking at the problem and I said, well, how many people do we need? What's the demand? And it turned out we really didn't have a good answer to that. So we instituted a process that we call strategic workforce planning, which for us in the supply chain field is a pretty straightforward thing, right? We do this all the time in S&OP. You go to the people that are going to buy your stuff or sell your stuff and say, how much are you going to need? Right? Before you go to the supply side and start recruiting, you first have to start with the demand. What do we really need? deciding where we need to invest. One of the things that surprised all of us very much when we actually pulled those numbers in and aggregated them, when we talk about recruiting historically, that always comes to go to campus, right? Find out what the job there is, you go to the University of Tennessee, and you put up a pretty good, you play a game that I call trick or treat for trinkets. Okay? So the student comes by, trick or treat, here's my resume, give them a toy. And then at the end of the day, you got a stack of 100 resumes, and you say, somehow out of this, I got to figure out whether to find somebody. But by the way, there are 99 other companies here doing the same thing, and so we're really all competing for this small handful of folks that are going to go in this line. What shocked us when we did this S&OP, we took it a step beyond just saying how many people you need, but we also said for the next year, for those 15 people you need to hire, how many do you want straight out of college? How many do you want experienced professionals? How many do you want transferring from some other part of the company? How many do you want as interns? How many do you want as flexible? But there are a limited number of buckets you can pull talent from, right? The source of talent. I had just guys with real numbers. The ratio is about right. There's about 2 to 1 experienced professionals to entry-level college graduates. So Caterpillar, a company that historically has really focused on bringing in people early and developing them through their careers, my managers were telling me, I don't have time. You need to bring people in that already have these skills to do what I need. We're raising 2 to 1. By the way, guess where all of our recruiters were working, where all of our recruiting resources were focused? College. Universities. That's right. So, part of what we had to go through then to sort of get our heads around the investment side of this was, what is the cost of talent? What's the total package that goes into paying people to be here? Obviously, there are costs associated with recruiting, and it's very easy and very tempting for us to just turn those dollars on and off based on where we're at in the quarter, right, or where we're at in the year. But the fact is, you look at it, and there are drivers to those recruiting costs, right? How much talent you really need, and how efficient are you at recruiting. The more talent you need, the more money you need to be spending on recruiting. If you don't have that demand, well then that isn't a good investment in resources. The other buckets, comp and ben, it is what it is. The market's going to drive that. If you're not competitive, you're not going to be able to keep it down, and guess what? Then you're going to end up spending money on recruiting costs. Right? So it's just an input. Relocation, ISE for is what we international service employees, expats, and travel. Those costs very often you're varying because you've just got a geographic, right? You got somebody that has the skills, but they're in the wrong place. So you're paying travel or you're paying moving there for a while. One way to even close the gap if it's around competencies is education, training, and development. See ISE thrown in there again, right? One way to get that international experience is through the international side. The fifth one is the one that ended up being really interesting, is the opportunity cost. Because it's so easy to sort of turn the knobs on all those others. But the question that you have to go back to the managers and ask is, okay, if we're not able to fill this position, what is it costing us? How much money are we losing every month or every year by having this position vacant, by not having the right set of skills? And all of a sudden, a hiring manager who will walk at spending $30,000 for a headhunter sees value in getting the position filled with the right person. Okay? So it's all just a question of balancing those costs. David, I think that brings it back to you.
that work, we went back to our industry partners and we said, you know, it's really important for us to understand the outcome side of your requirements. Okay, looking at your businesses in these 10 industries around the world, what is it that you see as the gaps? What is it that you see as the core competencies for supply chain executives? And this is what they told us. They told us that it's very important to have global business leadership and acumen as a part of that competency set, because companies are competing now in global markets. They are extending to global supplier bases, and the complexity of supply chains is changing very, very significantly. So he said that's a really important component for us. The second point that they made to us really was around transformational capabilities. And when I talk about transformational capabilities, I'm talking again about what happens in a global supply chain where you have multiple functions that you manage. That's not new to you guys, not new to any of us in the supply chain field, okay? But what I want you to think about is that most of us have come from functional backgrounds, okay? We started in a part of the supply chain and developed an expertise. And many of us may have a lot of our career experience in those functional areas. Those are important. Supply chains don't operate without them. But if you look at the challenges that companies are facing now, particularly with globalization, it's the cross-functional competence that's just as or more important, okay? So then you get into the world of things like governance that has to stretch across the supply chain and include all the partners. You get into technology. You get into change management, okay, that become the critical supply chain issues that you have to become involved with, okay? You get into the challenge in the supply chain of multiple regions of the world, multiple cultures. And cultures operate differently. I'm sure you know that already from your own experience. Communication styles are different. Negotiation styles are different. Business ethics are different, okay? And one size doesn't fit all at all. And it's very difficult for supply chain people to find places to get that kind of an education. When I did that for Caterpillar, I can't tell you the number of times that I went to the School of Hard Knocks because I didn't have any place to go get the education. So I hate to say it this way, but I had to make the mistakes, okay? I had to make the mistakes and learn from them and become better at what I was doing. And it's a whole lot better if you can go get the education on the front end and avoid making a lot of the mistakes, okay? And that's part of what they told us. They said, you know, we can educate people in our companies because we have multi-functions in our supply chains. We can move people, we can diversify them, but it becomes a lot more difficult for us to educate people in the multicultural side, okay? We really need that kind of an educational process to help us out. Integrated business planning. That one just makes sense, okay? Supply chains integrate across all the functions of a business. You know from your experience that supply chains typically represent 60 to 70% of the cost, the operating costs of a business. They control a bunch of the assets. And supply chains do one other thing that's really important. What is it? They fulfill the customer expectations. Without the supply chain, marketing people and sales people have a gun with no bullets, okay? They don't have anything to sell. They can make lots of promises, but they can't deliver on them. Supply chains are what deliver the sales promises, the sales commitments. And what does that do? That generates the revenue, okay? That generates the revenue. So integrated business planning connects the supply chain to all the other company functions, sales, marketing, commercial organizations, financial organizations. So they said that's a really, really important part of this core competency piece. The mastery of the integrated value chain. This is a really, really important point. Supply chain people have got to broaden their scope, okay? It's no longer just about the transformation of products, the delivery of products. In the supply chain world, we have to manage information. We can't supply things without information telling us what to do. And we have to manage the financial side because we're there to make money, okay? There's no question about that stuff. But the integrated value chain piece does what? It connects to the customers, okay? Supply chain people have to get involved with their sales and marketing people when they do things like customer segmentation. Why is that important? Because one level of service doesn't fit everybody. You're going to look at your market selectively and say, this market's really important, and the supply chain service I provide to this market is much better, okay, has to be because of the market requirements than what I provide to this market, okay? So it's a different way of looking at it, and it means it's a value chain perspective. It's just not a supply chain perspective, okay? Really, really critical point. Same thing on the supplier side, okay? So you've really got to look at this value chain approach. The last point that they made to us I thought was a great one. Supply chain people are really good at what they do, okay? Really good at what they do. Goes back to this functional expertise. We work really hard at it with all of the skills. Really hard at it. But one of the things sometimes that we don't do as well as we should is we don't connect the supply chain results to the overall success and the financial results of the company, okay? Think about this one for a minute, okay? You're talking in the supply chain world about what